the environment. I know we may have talked about changes here and there in the climate, but this perhaps is a man-made kind of challenges brought upon us. Ankkio Briggs joins us now. She's a Niger Delta activist. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
Well, I know that it was only recently that the NOSTRA, the National Oil Spill Emergency Response Team, said that they lack the legal framework. They'd like to see something done about the enabling laws so that they can respond better in tackling environmental challenges. And it was only recently that the Minister of Petroleum Resources visited Bayelsa, that's Funiwa, where that gas explosion happened. And so it looks as though they're doing something about making sure the environment really is safe in the Niger Delta region. Do you see things differently?
There's this saying that it's better late than never, and so coming from that position, yes, it's a long time coming. First of all, the agency for the protection of the environment, it's heartwarming to hear that they finally are saying that they don't have the powers to do anything about the devastation of the environment, particularly as we agree that the devastation of the Niger Delta environment is a man-made devastation out of recklessness and irresponsibility on the part of the oil company, and even federal government and state government and the local government where these spills occur. And that's why we're calling for all kinds of changes in Nigeria, restructuring of Nigeria, re-emphasizing the responsibilities, if you like, of these agencies. It's like setting up the NDDC or the Ministry of Niger Delta. It's all a cosmetic. It's all of cosmetic value, because if you create the National Environmental National Response Agency and it doesn't have any powers to do anything to stop the spill or even move in to assess the spill, then why is it even there? Then its need is completely useless. So definitely we must empower them if they don't have the powers to do those things. And that's why today in the Niger Delta we are calling, I'm definitely in the forefront now of calling for a total moratorium on exploring and exploiting for gas and oil, because look at the price that my people are paying for exploring for oil and gas, and it doesn't matter who is benefiting in terms of whether that's the only source of income for Nigerian government or not. My people should not continue to pay such a high price. Look at the suffering that has been brought on. And then when we're now told that finally the Ministry of Petroleum, which is an arm of government that is in partnership with the oil companies, is finally, after years of abuse of the environment, this is the first time I think a Minister of Environment, Minister of Petroleum has gone to the Niger Delta to go and see what we're complaining about. Even the President should go. Even the Minister of Environment should go. The Minister of Health should visit these places and see what we're talking about. So the visit now, for me, is medicine after death, I must say so. But then once they have now taken the responsibility to go there, they shouldn't stop. We're not going to allow them to stop. They must. I have been to that site, to the ocean, to the mouth of the ocean, and to those communities. I've been there since that fire outbreak. I've been there 2 or 3, I think 3 times I've been there, and my people that work for me have been there to document it. So the fact that the government is now going, it's for me almost 2 months into that fire that has been raging, is really something that is coming late, but it's better late than never.
Has the fire been put out even?
Not as far as I know.
It is interesting that, at this point in time, even though you later on mention empowerment, you always seize the opportunity to call for a restructuring. One would wonder, what has restructuring got to do with empowering an agency to be a little more effective in doing its job?
Because in the Constitution, it says very clearly that it is the responsibility of government to provide a livable environment. I mean, I'm not repeating it word by word the way it is, but that's the responsibility of government for everybody that is in Nigeria. And when you look at the Niger Delta environment and the abuse of it, and accepting that it is man-made, that responsibility is even heavier now on the government, and the people of the Niger Delta must insist that the federal government, the constitution, serves them in that area. And if it is already in the constitution that is so wobbly and is not serving them, then somebody somewhere is going to be held accountable. And if they are not, and the only way we can achieve it is to restructure, then we must restructure the whole governance system in Nigeria if we are ever going to make the changes and move forward and stay as a country.
Okay, let's look at these oil companies that are coming to do this drilling. That particular the installation was supposed to be drilling for gas, natural gas. Is it that there were no parameters given to them in the process?
See, I have always referred to the oil companies as a state within a state, and I referred to them like that years and years ago. And that is how they operate. They are a law unto themselves. And because of the corrupt system that we have in Nigeria in governance, they are not held accountable. There are regulations and means and ways of drilling for oil and gas. By that explosion, the whole world can see that it is a highly technical aspect of drilling for oil or for gas, and that we need to be very careful, both for the lives of the people around those areas and also the environment. Now, people live there. It's their land. That is where they live. That's their ancestral home. You're not going to relocate them. We will not allow it. But what must happen is that they must be taken care of. Safety must be provided. We're not the only country or the only region in the world where oil and gas is being explored and exploited. So why is our case so devastating?
Yeah, but another thing is that because when incidents occur, because we heard Nostra saying they don't have the facility or the capacity, they even have to go on hired helicopters to get down there. And then you see NIMASA come forward with their recommendations, and then people ask, is it actually in their purview to do what they're doing? So, government agencies, I mean, there's a JV agreement. Can those things happen if government agencies do what they're supposed to do?
That's what I'm saying. If everybody is allowed to take the responsibility, so-called, that is allocated to them, there will not be problems. But right now, what is happening in Nigeria is somebody just gets up and says, you know what, I'm interested in this area, and it really doesn't matter anymore. You just get up and you cross. This is the sort of complaints that are coming up, and that's, I think, the area that you're coming from, where you've mentioned NIMASA, coming in. This is under the NPA, and so it's a little bit confusing how they come into it. Now, you also have another agency, National Emergency Agency,
okay.
NEMA Management Agency. Now, as far back as 2000, I was in touch with NEMA when there was a massive oil blowout in Ogoniland, in well 14 or so, in a place called Pe in Yola, and also in Obodo, Isiokpo in River State. And I made an appointment to go and see the board of NEMA. And I was told specifically, directly like this to my face, eyeball to eyeball, that the issue of spillage of oil in the Niger Delta is not a national emergency. I have the documents to prove. The director, I don't remember his name, but it's on record. The director at that time told me that what is happening to my people is not a national emergency. So I was gobsmacked. It is not a national emergency. The money that is funding that agency is from the Niger Delta, and yet you tell me that what is happening to my people to provide that money to fund that agency is not a national emergency. So people just do what they like, and that's why we must have a restructured Nigeria where people are responsible, even if it means that the states have more, the governors and the people of that state have more powers and more autonomy to be responsible to themselves.
Okay, but speaking of which, and then enforcement. I know that there's a lot of probe going on at the moment, but local content bill, that factor, because if a firm hires rigs or hires certain facilities, who ensures, are we doing enough in terms of regulation to ensure that those facilities are up to international standards, and not when something goes wrong, we come back and say, well, someone has done something they're not supposed to do. And then we also hear about people who are giving contracts about NDDC, and then they just go away. Nobody holds them accountable. Who's doing something about
it? This is the point, because like with the probe of, if you like, of the fuel subsidy that has gone on, the positions I personally took on the issue of subsidy, I have been really vindicated as far as I'm concerned, because we found ourselves in a situation where the cart was put before the horse. The cart was pulling the horse. If we had had the horse pulling the cart, Nigerians would have called for the removal of subsidy based on the information that is now on the table. It's the same in all spheres of government. It is the lack of responsibility. Of course, there are ways in which. How do you get the rig? Who owns the rig? Who is responsible for the safety of the rig? Who is the insurer of the safety of the rig? So if people are given responsibility and they are held accountable, then they will provide what is needed. But when they are not held accountable, that is where corruption comes in. With the issue of subsidy, who was signing? Who were responsible? It's the same thing with the issue of who brings in the rig. We have situations where somebody like me, for instance, will get a note. I'm just playing a scenario out now because that's how it works. I will get a note from somebody who is a brother to somebody who is the oga somewhere that will sign the note and say, okay, you provide the rig. In the meantime, I don't have a rig. And now I have to look for somebody who has a rig, or know somebody who knows somebody who has a rig. So by the time that rig arrives, 10 people have taken a cut of 10%. That's the insurance money that is going there. That's the safety that is going there. So you can see the mother of corruption playing out, and everybody just pretends that is the way to do things, because the only thing we have making money in this country is politics, oil and gas.
But then, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to ask, you said you've been to the mouth of the river where that fire is actually taking place now. What exactly have you seen have been the results of the fire? Because if you take a look at the visuals, I mean, that's a massive fire. It doesn't look like something that can be put out by just any kind of firefighters.
This thing is actually happening in the southern Ijaw local government area, and then there is about a cluster of about 5 or 6 different communities. And the last time I went, I visited literally all the communities along, and you can see dead fish on the water. It's a pity because I brought a small clip of pictures that I at least we could have seen it, but the facts are there. AIT, your organization, Al Jazeera, everybody is showing it, so it's neither here nor there. The proof is there now. Now, what I saw babies that are totally malnourished and very sickly. I brought the pictures, unfortunately can't be shown. Now, women with fresh rashes, all blotches all over their bodies. I saw houses, like in those communities, my people live on what I call stilts. You can actually see them. Now, what is happening is they are inhaling the fumes that comes up when the sun is hot. it releases certain fuel mixed with it.
Long-term,
very long, very long-term effect. Now, there is a small hospital that when I visited, there is a young doctor from Oyo State. He is actually the doctor there doing his youth service there. He's the only one there. And this hospital or cottage hospital or whatever, I think it's built by Chevron or something. And the beds are broken. The place is empty. There are no drugs. People, I saw with my eyes, people suffering from gastroenteritis. That is the effect of drinking the polluted water. Now, in that part of southern local Ijaw government area, there is a place where drinking water, that is fresh water, mixes with, it comes together at some point. And the drinking water is actually taken from the river. You actually see them. The doctor was telling me that because there is no water in the community, that what they do is they go to the creek, fetch water in drums and buckets, put alum in it, and use it on patients. That is just the truth. So these are the effects of what I saw a few weeks ago, the last time I visited, of what my people are suffering. So when the federal government goes to visit, we have been there and have told them what we're seeing. When they go as well to go and verify for themselves, and they fly in 3 helicopters that are provided by the oil companies that are responsible for this, or chartered by the oil companies, and they've not taken drugs, they've not taken drinking water to the people, I wonder what exactly is their responsibility to the people.
Because they've got that report about the spill, which they've, of course, said, shall go ahead and clean up. What is government doing about all
government this? What is doing absolutely nothing. And the way Nigeria is governed, government will do absolutely nothing. Like, for instance, now, you take the report that was brought out for the Ogoni area, because luckily for the Ogoni people, they have struggled and gotten to the point where their issue is what is about. That report and that whatever the amount is, how many $1 billion, is for them. It's not for the whole of Niger Delta. But the Ogoni area is duplicated all over the different ethnic groups that have oil in the Niger Delta. But they are the ones that have been able to push their case to the level where they have pushed it. So that report itself, how many months on? Almost a year on. There is not a resemblance of anybody or anything, either government or otherwise, moving in to go and clean up. So that money, as any other money that is provided in any shape or form, will just disappear into thin air. We saw what Obama did and the responsibility that the American government took. We saw what the Venezuela or Mexican country recently did to that company. The company was on his knees begging, because the government said, hey, you've spilled like 10 million barrels, hypothetically, into our waters. And they say, no, it's not 10, it's 5, please. And Nigeria, we just sit down there and pamper these people. As a matter of fact, all the oil companies should leave the Niger Delta. They should go. I keep saying this thing. They should go. They should pack their bags. They should pack their baggages. They should leave the Niger Delta. They're not providing anything. They're here in Lagos with you people. They're not in the Niger Delta with us. So they should go.
The question I wanted to ask is, what are the people of the Niger Delta that leave? What are they doing about their own environment?
My brother, what can they do? You've seen those pictures. You've seen them. These are helpless people. They can't even come out. How do they come out? We have all our communities are waterine communities. It is one place that maybe you can take your car to at any one given time, and then you come in from everywhere else to that point to access the major road. And that's why we're calling for the building of the East-West Road. The East-West Road is a federal government road. It's not our road. It's federal government. It's federal government that is supposed to open those places up. We have a son that is from the Niger Delta. People say we're claiming him. We're not. Nigeria can have him. He's their president. He's our son. When he finishes, he will come back to us. Nigeria can have him as the president. We want our resources. We want to be able to use our resources to build bridges, to connect our people. He does not have his government is not able to make the singular decision. He has been there. He's not able to perform because he's not allowed to perform. Yesterday, bomb went off in what do you call it?
Is that supposed to be tenable?
What? No, of
That
course
is
not.
not allowed to perform?
No, of course not. But who is responsible? Who are we going to hold responsible?
If all of this is happening and if the oil companies were culpable, why isn't government holding them responsible?
There is state within a state. Corruption. Who's going to hold them responsible? The people that they are giving kickbacks to turn the other way. That's the only reason that you can use to explain. If you don't use that, then you use the issue of incompetence. Then it means we have somebody somewhere heading one agency or ministry or the other that is incompetent, that does not know what his job is and can't do it, and therefore must be removed. But who's going to remove them? Because everything is about a political party. It is never about delivering good governance to Nigerians. It is about a political party. Look at what we're watching here in your news about people blaming the police for this and for that. How can in what part of the world, apart from Nigeria, will people have an election and then people are screaming that the police rigged the election? It's crazy. It is crazy. People must be held responsible. See, until we start sacking people, until people wake up in the morning and their jobs are not there for them, until people wake up in the morning and they're going to jail, or they're being called to answer a question, and until they answer that question, they won't go back to their homes. Until these things happen, Nigeria is not going to change.
It's amazing that, you're not the only one who's paid a visit to that place. And before the Minister of Petroleum Resources did go there, the acting governor, the speaker who was acting in acting capacity in Bayelsa State, also paid a visit to that fire. And he did promise to lobby government to try and do something about it. Now, if people at these levels are not able to achieve much, what do you really think should happen? What scenario do you what do you hope to see playing out in that particular area?
If Nigeria cannot get a single drop of oil from Niger Delta, they will do what they know they have to do. Nobody is a fool. Nobody is a child. We all know what is good and what is right and what is wrong. If they don't get oil, left to me alone, I have said it over and over again, and I don't know what the implications of that is, but it really doesn't matter, because I come from the area. I am suffering. My people are suffering. We're benefiting nothing from all the oil companies that are there. We're benefiting nothing from the federal government's partnership with the oil company. The federal government also should stop being a partner to these oil companies, and we should be partners to the oil companies, because you see, once that is there, we will hold them responsible. Right now,
but we
cannot hold them responsible.
Do you have faith in the petroleum industry bill? Because a host of people have said that things will change, that even the country as it stands right now is not making the most of the resources that it's getting in the Niger Delta. Do you have faith that when it's finally passed, because right now there's a task force that has been set up to actually look at that, and also, there's some pressure being applied in the National Assembly to see what they can quickly do about passing the petroleum industry bill? A
committee was set up that resulted in whatever bills that is out there and agencies.
They will work in the light of this subsidy protest.
The point is, I personally, and a lot of people from the Niger Delta, if not everybody in the Niger Delta, has lost faith. There is no trust in anything that government says. Wilkins' report, what came out of it? Absolutely jink.
Even with your son.
On Padek, what came out? See, our son being there, we can all see very clearly now. He's been there from the 6th of May 2010 to the 29th of May 2011, and 29th of May 2011 to today that we're sitting here, 1 year plus. The fact is this: he has not been allowed. I don't know who at the day, because everybody calls another group cabal. So the cabal, whoever this cabal is that holds Nigeria's government hostage, PDP and their system within that thing, has held the government of Nigeria hostage. Not just Goodluck Jonathan. Even when the late president was there, cabal was running it. The poor man was ill, and people were signing documents and saying it is him that signed it. It's gone under the carpet. We're not going to hear about it. There are people who are responsible for where this country is today. They should be brought to book.
I asked you a question about the people of the Niger Delta. Now, you have sons and daughters who are from the Niger Delta who are learned. How come they are never held responsible? Some of them have been in leadership positions. What are they doing to help to better the environment that they are coming from? And how is it that they are never held responsible?
When I hear the word held responsible, I don't know exactly what the expectation of that is. I've started saying that when people come home that have not performed, they should be booed. I have no respect for the type of people that you're talking about. I am on record for calling for the scrapping of the Ministry of Niger Delta. I even said from the beginning that we didn't need it. How else are the people going to hold them responsible unless if we go and do illegal things to them? It is the responsibility of government to hold itself responsible, not the poor starving people of the Niger Delta. What do people want us to do? What do they want me to do? Apart from what I'm doing now, what do I do? To somebody who, what do I do to the Ministry of Niger Delta? Or the minister who is not performing in the Ministry of Niger Delta? What do I do? So what do the poor people of Niger Delta do? That is the question.
But the thing is, I mean, if you ask the governors, they'll tell you they're not sitting back and folding their arms.
But they are.
They're in the same party. And so the president is in the same party. And the question will be, at the end of this time, if they can't put in place a proper framework now, who's going to listen to anything else they say?
That is, you see, this is why the call and the Niger Delta people's agitation is getting stronger now that we have our son as president. It has to be. This, our son, is on record as saying, and quite rightly so, that he will not neglect any other region to favor his own region. Of course he's right. He's the president of Nigeria. And that is why the responsibility is on us in the Niger Delta to make sure that we put pressure on him to do certain things for us, even if it is only the East-West Road, even if it is only to make sure that there is the sitting down and talking. I now don't want to call it Sovereign National Conference, because people say if you say sovereign is this and is that. Whatever it is, it must take place. Boko Haram must sit down and tell Nigerians what their problems are. Men should sit down. MASOP should sit down. OPC should sit down. Armed robbers should come and say why they're doing armed robbery. Ritualists should come and say why they're kidnapping people and cutting, plucking out their eyes and cutting off their heads. Because that is the level of irresponsibility, if you like, that Nigeria finds itself. A great country like Nigeria that can be great, 150 million people, is no small figure.
But that doesn't make a mess of the entire thing. I mean, when you say that ritualists and armed robbers, I mean, it puts everybody on the same level. Whether or not your agitation is right, you should just come.
That is what I'm saying. Do you understand? That's what I'm saying. That why I said it, why I reduced it to that level, is because that is how the people who are supposed to be governing us are reducing Nigeria to that level. And we are already down anyway in the Niger Delta. So for us, there is no other way but up. And we are prepared now to go up. We will continue to scream and put pressure on our son, not to forget that he comes from here, even though he's the president of Nigeria. And we will hold him personally responsible after his service for PDP, because he's not serving our people right now.
But the flip side of all of this is that, I mean, if you keep saying he's our son, and at the end of the day, he goes up, they don't have that framework, don't you think Nigerians will say, well, your son was there, what did you guys do?
What do you think we're doing? What do you think our frustration is? Because past presidents have not looked at the Niger Delta. It's very clear. Otherwise, I mean, look at Abuja. 8-lane roads, 4 here, 4 there. Where are they getting the money from? Is it not from Niger Delta? So if he does not, if this present government cannot even build the East-West Road from beginning to end, from where it begins at the Niger Delta border into the rest of the 6 states, if we cannot do that, and we cannot see bridges connecting our major communities to other smaller communities, we cannot say that we have benefited from this government.
But I heard people say that the ball is in the court of the Niger Deltans, because you've got representatives in the House of Representatives, you got in the National Assembly, the Senate, you got governors, you have in the presidency. So if they all cannot pull together and do one thing and put in place a framework, We don't know when next.
I totally agree with you up to a point in that respect, in the sense that yes, we should be able to take our destiny in our own hands. That is why we're calling for ownership of our resources, not even resource control. It is our own. We want to own it. Let people come to Niger Delta and let's discuss with them.
But there's got to be a conference about that. So
everything. That's why the Sovereign National Conference must happen. Everybody. There are other resources now. What are we talking about?
But you've seen those headlines where they were quoted. They quoted the president saying, "Well, there isn't any much need now. There's a committee in place. So if they recommend it, fine. But if they don't, well, so be it."
The president is one person. The rest of Nigerians are the rest of Nigerians, and he's there to serve us. He is allowed his own opinion on issues as the president, but he also must allow himself to listen to what Nigerians are saying to him. If Nigerians are saying from north to south, east to west, that we want a sitting together to discuss, whether you call it a pepper soup conference or whatever thing you want to call it, just allow people to sit down and air their expectations and their frustrations. We will get somewhere that is better than where we are today. That's my belief.
Why do you need the president's approval for that?
Nobody needs the president's approval. I've never said that we need the president's approval. I don't know where anybody gets up to say that we need the president's approval. But it depends on the structure that is on ground, how these things can happen. These are not things for the ordinary Nigerians to be aware of. It is information that the so-called representatives will give the ordinary Nigerians that they claim have voted for them. Then based on the right information, we the ordinary Nigerians, you and I, can make our decisions and say this is what we want. But for now, Nigerians don't know what their rights are, and those rights must be given to them so that they can enforce those rights. And if those rights means that we should sit down and discuss as a country, then that is what we must do. Otherwise, I keep saying this thing, otherwise we will go from where we are today, which we think it's bad, to where we don't want to go, which is worse.